right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. Got a whole bunch of good crypto news stuff for you today. And the first thing that I want to talk about is Ripple Labs attempts to quash legal action by January 2020. So in court documents uploaded by Fortune on September 19th, lawyers for the company stated 12 reasons why they considered the accusations to be false. So people are trying to sue them for essentially dumping XRP all over the place. Every single month, 1 billion XRP into circulation, and it's dumping the price and dumping and dumping. And it's gone nowhere for quite a long time. And XRP investors are pretty sick of it, as a lot of people bought in 40, 50, 60, $1, and they're still hanging on for dear life. And XRP ended up getting up to something like $3.50 at the all-time high. And of course, so you can see anybody would have invested at any point in between there from 30 cents onward is basically stuck on high water there, in high water, I suppose, and it's gone nowhere pretty much since. A few weeks ago, we seen a pump to 40 cents and still at 30 cents. We did have a pretty big pump a couple days ago from 25 cents to about 32 cents, so 7 cents is pretty significant at 25 cents. But again, considering where it once was. Now, I think XRP is mostly just hype, as it was the biggest gaining coin of 2017. And because of that, because of the few people that made so much money by buying in super early, way before 2017, since it's been around since like 2013 or 14, people are expecting those kind of gains again, and it's really just not going to happen. Now, XRP is supposed to be connecting with banks and circumventing the SWIFT system from banks and such. But they've, in my opinion, they have failed to do that for a long time. Since they've been around since 2013, and they really haven't had too many partnerships, and they still don't. And people can argue against that, but there's really not much usage of XRP going on at all. Another reason that XRP is so incredibly popular is, again, because of the 2017 gains, there are just unbelievable amounts of Twitter bots that use the XRP or XRP community hashtag on Twitter. And you can see that most of them have no followers, are following nobody, and they're just repeating the same thing. There's about 10 different things that they say, and they're just clearly bots because they say about a total of 10 different things, and they sort of swap it out. And oftentimes you can find bots saying literally the exact same thing verbatim. And it's just absolutely plaguing Twitter. Just type in the XRP community hashtag or just XRP hashtag, and you will be able to find those bots soon enough. Also, just tons of Twitter accounts that are just literally named XRP, like MrSotko XRP on Twitter or something like that. No, I don't have that. But that are just shilling it and shilling it. I've seen people making videos where they think that XRP is going to go to $100 or $1,000 and calling everybody stupid if you don't think that's going to be true. Well, that's definitely not going to be true, because $1,000 XRP would be like this many quintillion dollar market cap. And that's just not going to happen. That's absolutely outrageous. It's basically all of the money, derivatives, stock, and property on the planet. And it's just not going to happen. So I think Ripple failed a long time ago. So the move forms the latest episode in a long battle between Ripple and investor Bradley Sostak, who bought XRP tokens in 2013, who should be selling them because you already made a ton of money. That doesn't make any sense. So XRP in 2013 was worth hundreds or thousands of a cent, and then it went to 350. So it was like the biggest gaining coin, even from 2017. Just looking at the year 2017, it was easily one of the biggest, if not the biggest gaining coin. So if you didn't sell, I don't know what to tell you. Sostak argues prior to XRP going on sale, Ripple did not consult with U.S. authorities as to whether the token constituted a security in need of regulation. A separate debacle involves Ripple's jurisdiction over XRP, with various company sources giving conflicting accounts on two entities' relationships. Despite this, lawyers maintain that XRP is not a security. Of course you do. Now, however, confidence in their claims appears strangely absent, as fellow industry lawyer Jake Chervinsky notes. None of the 12 rebuffs tackle XRP's status as a security. Ripple has finally filed their motion to dismiss impending securities class action regarding XRP. They make 12 separate arguments for dismissal of plaintiff claims. He summarized on Twitter. So again, a lot of people angry at Twitter for just, or excuse me, XRP for just, or Ripple for simply dumping XRP on the market $1 billion every month, which was sort of their MO for a very long time now, and that it's just completely devastating the price. It'd be like developers just dumping their coin just constantly. Same thing. And then this guy is trying to argue that it is a security. So Ripple's under a lot of fire for all this. Is XRP a security? So indeed, the only explicit reference to the issue appears in a footnote in the latest document. It reads, "Purchasing XRP is not an investment in Ripple. Except there is no common enterprise between Ripple and XRP purchasers. There was no promise that Ripple would help generate profit for XRP holders, and the XRP ledger is decentralized." I gotta stop for a second. What on there? Are you sure about that? Moreover, because XRP is a currency, it cannot, as a matter of law, also be a security. Yeah, but that depends on if you call it a currency or not, though. And, like, if governments actually think of it as a currency, which so far, it's really not. I mean, I can send it to you. I could send $1,000 of it to you, and it's worth $1,000. But I could also send you $1,000 worth of lawn chairs or something like that in the mail, and then you could sell them for $1,000, and poof, there you go. Same thing. So, no, XRP, definitely not a currency at the moment. I mean, it is and it isn't. But a security? Yeah, for sure. For Ripple. Yeah, because they sell $1 billion of it every time. Is that okay? Well, yes and no. But it's definitely not decentralized either. This is just total nonsense. I just don't believe in XRP. I never liked XRP. I always think that XRP was just going to dump in price, and it did, and that it's centralized, it is, and the fact that I believe that they failed in their mission. They've had, 6 going on 7 years now to get banks on their side, and they've really failed to do that in any kind of meaningful way. So there's Twitter for you. Moving on to different news. Cryptocurrency Twitter jumps on gaming giants crypto tweet. So EA with Apex has tweeted, "Invest in crypto." So they kind of are trolling a little bit, meaning that their new character in the game, Apex, is going to be called Crypto, and apparently he like hacks things and does various things with drones or something like that. I don't know his skills very well. But anyway, the new character is going to be Crypto, and they tweeted out, "Invest in crypto," and it made Twitter explode. So, hey, good news for crypto, I suppose, even though it's not really supposed to be talking about buying into Bitcoin or anything like that. So I figured I'd share that in case you guys happen to see that later on. It's just about a game character. EA is just trolling a little bit. So 6 addresses are dominating Ethereum usage right now. The most common thread between the 6 most active wallets on Ethereum is that they are all communicating with the contract, yada yada. This smart contract has been rising to the top of the list as the biggest Ethereum gas burner. So as of September 20th, the smart contract hogged 39.6% of all Ethereum gas. So this is kind of like the back in the day in 2017 of the crypto kitties that were hogging up the entire Ethereum network. And this is exactly why Ethereum needs like Ethereum 2.0 or scaling in general, because everybody uses Ethereum for their smart contracts. There are, 2 major coins, Bitcoin, and then you got Ethereum, in my opinion. There are plenty of other great coins doing really great things, don't get me wrong, but Ethereum, everybody builds their tokens on Ethereum first. Have you ever invested into a token and then they migrated to their own blockchain? Well, it was probably because they were an ERC20 token. BNB was once an ERC20 token. We have billions upon billions of dollars worth of tokens, 206,000 token contracts, actually, probably more than that by now. So over 200,000 token contracts riding on the Ethereum blockchain. That's not even to mention the dApps, etc. like this. So Ethereum is arguably the biggest coin. Now, Bitcoin, of course, is Bitcoin, and nobody's ever going to take Bitcoin's crown, not anytime soon. But Ethereum, huge, and it just goes to show how much they need to expand, because if CryptoKitties or this contract could take up 40% of the Ethereum gas, then yes, we definitely need scaling. And if there was a lot bigger scaling, then developers that would say, hey, well, now that Ethereum is scaled way bigger, we can actually create this thing that we wanted to create that we couldn't have otherwise done with a lower transaction. So the contract, just a day ago, the contract only used up to 17%. The activity has been defined as fair win, a game spreading through Chinese social media channels. Some believe fair win is a pure Ponzi scheme, probably, that suckers in new buyers to continue the operation. However, the pattern of gas usage suggests that it is more akin to a previous game that mixed a Ponzi scheme and timing. Pretty much the same thing. In those type of games known as 3D betting, players deposit Ethereum into a smart contract and then wait until the last bidder exit scams with all the winnings. The game, of course, promises to be absolutely fair. However, the organizers have a big advantage of high Ethereum reserves and the ability to pay for the network use so that players can't get their bids in, of course, because it's a smart contract. I remember when Proof of Weak Hands 3D came out, and I made a video saying, don't invest into this. It's just a pure Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme. Literally had pyramids on their website, and they were proud of that. And I remember making a video, and even the developers of Proof of Weak Hands commented on it. And a lot of people were like, you don't know what you're talking about, MrSotko, because it's a smart contract. They can't exit scam. Well, you can still lose your money because it's a pyramid scheme. If you get in late and you're like, oh, I happen to notice this. This is awesome. And you didn't realize that you were that late, that it was already out for 3-4 months. You're not going to make anything, if not lose just about everything that you put in. It's still a pyramid scheme. It's still a Ponzi scheme. Just because it's a smart contract doesn't mean that it isn't a Ponzi scheme where the people that got in first make more money. And even then, Proof of Weak Hands 3 was the third iteration, because the first two, all the Ethereum just got leaked out of the contract and essentially hacked. So it's not always, this isn't what you do with your money. Let me just say that. You don't need to gamble it away, because I think people treat crypto as not money. A lot of times I think people just treat it as a number, as this like sort of game money that they can play with. And I think a lot of people would rather, I think it attracted a lot of gamblers who would rather gamble with crypto, even though they bought the crypto or mined the crypto, and they paid for it in one way or another. And they're fine with gambling it away, because if you gamble the number away, it's not so big of a deal. But if you go to the casino and gamble away all your money, then it's a big deal, because now you don't have anything in your bank account. So I think that's the way people think, is because it's like a gamified digital token, even though it is money. If it's worth $200 on Ethereum, it is $200, which it's actually more than that now. We'll talk about that pump in just a second. So moving on here. Explosive mining growth indicates high confidence in Bitcoin. So it's expected that another double-digit growth in difficulty will take place during Bitcoin mining reevaluation next week if mining keeps up the current pace. Data reveals, however, that mining has grown exponentially while difficulty growth tracks flatter. According to social media personality Hodlnut, prominent Bitcoin supporter, the relentless race for more mining is a sign of confidence. So let's check the hash rate here. And we did break that 100 million hash rate. Absolutely. But 100 million terahash anyway, depending on how you word it, I suppose. And so the other day there was a lot of articles. It was maybe like last week or so. About 10 days or so, 7 days or so ago, whatever, a week. And that we were at 100,000 or 100 million terahash, and we weren't quite. It was more like 97 million. Oh no, right? Only 3% off. But it wasn't quite, and now it actually is. It went up to 102 million terahash. So this means that just more and more people are plugging in, and when more and more people are plugging in, the difficulty every week, every 2 weeks is going up, and that just means that they have to sell for slightly higher. And if you get this gigantic operation, you're not going to want to sell at a loss, and that's just going to, all that new Bitcoin coming in is going to be hodled by miners and then later sold and like sort of taken out of the exchange. It's just more confidence overall. This is the highest hash rate we've ever seen by far, not even close to anything. And we're not even at 20,000, which is interesting because we hit 20,000 way back. And we could see here October 18th. We can't even go back that far at the moment. We might be able to like kind of pull it back. I'm not sure here. No, it doesn't seem to really want to go back too far. Oh, all time here. There we go. Oh, man, numbers and buttons and stuff, right? So, yeah, it wasn't even close of December 2017 here. We were at maybe 15 million terahash or so, somewhere around there, 15 to 20. And now we have just exponentially increased that, essentially. Well, borderline. So 100 million compared to 15 million when the price was at 20,000 before, briefly, at only 15 million terahash. So can you imagine the profitability during that period of Bitcoin miners? I mean, I remember that. I remember all the numbers talking about them, etc. And now we're in a totally different world here. So moving on here, Tom Lee, the guy that is always wrong with his predictions. I don't think he's ever predicted correctly at all. Then eventually, when the price was going down, and he was saying up, he stopped predicting. And then I think probably the TV station that he works for, whoever he works for, is probably like, hey, you got to keep doing this because people like it, even though you're wrong every time. And we need you as our guy that's always wrong. So Tom Lee, that guy. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency will gain trust from the incoming launch of institutional trading platform Backed. So in a few days, on September 23rd, the platform goes live, and it's going to offer its first physical Bitcoin futures. Investors who have been able to deposit funds since September 6th will take delivery of payouts exclusively in Bitcoin. The remaining days to launch have so far been characterized by lackluster progress for Bitcoin markets, which dropped below 10,000 again, but recently recovered. Now, recovering Bitcoin prices could nonetheless shift considerably one more in the short term. So he says, I'm very positive on Backed and its ability to improve trust with institutions and crypto. So now, of course, a lot of people have to buy Bitcoin to put it on Backed futures. So that takes demand out of the regular Joe Blow exchange circulation, if you will. Backed themselves have to buy a bit of Bitcoin to make sure everybody's paid out, etc. Now, I think that price is already sort of priced in. I don't think a bunch of people are going to buy tomorrow or on the 23rd or anything just to deposit to do futures. So I don't think that's going to raise the price too much. But if this turns out really well, institutional investors over time will start putting more and more onto Backed, and that will take away, circulation and stuff. But just remember that Backed futures is futures, so you can short futures, you can long, either way. So I think a lot of people think that this is just going to raise the price inherently, but not necessarily. I mean, they can short it and short it and short it and, sort of make sure that that happens too. Because the problem with crypto is that we are in a very unregulated industry. So, one person could have a ton of Bitcoin. Then you could go on to a futures market, whether that be like BitMEX or Backed futures, even CME or something like that, or or which one's still around, CBOE or CME? I think CME, but either way. And you could go onto a futures market. Then you could dump on the exchanges that they get that information from. So usually those futures exchanges get information from a few other ones. And when it goes down in price, they take that information and say, okay, your short was wrecked, or your short was fulfilled, or your long was wrecked, etc. So you could go onto those exchanges, dump a ton of Bitcoin, while at the same time you had a short on the futures exchange, and collect your short and collect your money from selling at the same time. Or you could do the opposite, put a bunch of money onto exchange, pump it, have a long, and double success. And nobody's really tracking this sort of thing. Nobody's regulating this sort of thing. Again, with crypto, you can have a pump and dump group on Discord or Telegram, totally legal. In the stock world, totally illegal because it's regulated. So there's huge differences between crypto. So one person could say, hey, I could go on Backed futures, short, and then go on to various exchanges and just dump the price of Bitcoin $1,000 with millions upon millions or $1 billion, who knows, and successfully short Bitcoin. And dump the price at the same time. So this does give incentive for institutional investors to manipulate the price a little bit at the same time. So we'll have to see what happens with Backed futures. So just know, I don't mean to be too negative. I'm very positive about Backed futures actually, but at the same time, you can long futures. You can long futures, you can short futures, period. So moving on here, Satoshi Nakamoto is dead, thinks BitMEX is Arthur Hayes. So we don't know who Satoshi is or even who are, but the rumors about their identity, or if they are even still alive for that matter, has been a constant in the cryptoverse since its inception. Many large figures within this industry have weighed on the topic too. Just recently, when asked if we'll ever find out who Satoshi is, Bloomberg reports that BitMEX's co-founder replied with a no, explaining, I think they're already dead, which I kind of think so too. I think anybody claiming that they're Satoshi, I think are just trolls, or they're trying to cash in on something, or I'm pretty sure, I suspect that Satoshi Nakamoto is indeed dead. So we have two high candidates of Satoshi Nakamoto. There are many candidates, of course, but one, Dave Kleiman. The other one that I think more people consider is Hal Finney, as he was the first to receive from Satoshi Nakamoto, who could have just said, yes, Satoshi sent me this, but he really sent it to himself. Who knows? Also, Dave Kleiman mined 1.1 million Bitcoin, him and Craig Wright, actually. So it could have been Kleiman, and he mined his Bitcoin, and maybe he was working with Craig Wright in some way, shape, or form. I don't mean to say that Craig Wright is Satoshi, but I kind of consider Satoshi, like if Craig Wright was involved in any way, I think it was more like, hey, I know a friend who is making Bitcoin, and he was my business acquaintance, and now I'm going to rob him after he died. I'm pretty sure that's sort of Craig Wright, that he wasn't really involved in it, but he knew maybe it at best, right? So either Hal Finney or Dave Kleiman. Plenty of other possibilities as well. Don't get me wrong. Some people think Paul LaRue, who's in prison, who could definitely not cash out with Bitcoin in prison. So there are so many possibilities, but a high possibility is a deceased Satoshi Nakamoto. So some are saying that Harold Thomas Finney, cryptographer and crypto pioneer who worked closely with Satoshi Nakamoto, who was Satoshi himself. Finney passed away in 2014 and was crypto-preserved by Alcor Life Extension Foundation. So he was cryo-preserved, by that company, which I actually lived somewhat close to. I could actually be at that company in like probably about 15 minutes where I used to live. I don't know why I would, but kind of weird that it's so close. It's actually in Scottsdale, Arizona. Over the years, many have come out with various claims related to the Bitcoin founder, but none are more interesting as those claiming to actually be him. The most famous case, of course, is Craig Wright as Fake Toshi. And the most recent episode of the long Fake Toshi saga, Wright was ordered to pay 550,000 Bitcoin. But that's not quite over just yet. There's like they sort of threw the discovery out. And now they're going, what I believe the update to that is that they're sort of going into a negotiation. So I highly doubt that Ira Kleiman or the Kleiman estate is going to receive $5.5 billion. I think even the lawyers basically said that we're not going to get billions, but we're going to try to get as much as we can. So I'm guessing just millions that are going to go to the Kleiman estate that Craig Wright will have to pay in some way, shape, or form. But that's about all I have there. Coin market cap, 269 billion market cap. So interestingly enough, Bitcoin has been going sort of nowhere lately. We went to like 10.3 and then high 9900s, and then we're back to about 10,200. Meanwhile, just about every altcoin over the past couple days has exploded in value, unfortunately, and it's gone for the most part. So it's going back down, kind of. So Ethereum reached like 222, 220. Going back down to 216 now. Ethereum was at about XRP was at about 25 cents, went to about 32 cents, now back down to 29 cents. So XRP holders, not your day just yet. Sell on the next high. Bitcoin Cash, $317, went way up as well. Even Litecoin went up to like something like $80 for a brief period. And we'll have to see how long that lasts. That was an interesting altcoin explosion. I was on Twitter and crypto Reddits and stuff like that, and it was just like it's finally alt season, etc. And I couldn't help but to type "it's gone" on a couple of them because it was like just as they said that, like a couple hours later, it's down by 5%. So not quite alt season just yet, although that pump was certainly enjoyable. Hopefully it keeps going and we don't go back to regular prices. But interestingly enough, people sort of abandoned Bitcoin for the past like 3 days and was just pumping into altcoins. So way she goes in the crypto world. Way she goes, boys. So that's all I have for you today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the channel. Got all my social media in the description below. Hit me up on those if you get the opportunity to do so. But that's all I have for you. Hope you enjoyed it. And as usual, I will see you guys next time.